Yeah, cool. So, sorry, tell me more about Hearthstone. What is it that appeals about it to you?
So, since I'm obviously busy now with my own card game that I'm working with my co-designer Sean, who's floating around in chat
Oh,
somewhere.
cool.
Um, Basically, there's a vein of card games out there that we kind of refer to them as this RTS model,
Hmm.
where you're the general and you're in control of building up a board state until you can eventually overwhelm your opponents,
Yeah.
like Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Hearthstone, Legends of Runeterra. They all kind of follow that similar play style.
Yeah.
And so for me, I love that kind of game. And Hearthstone offers that to me in a very compact, quick way
Yeah.
that I can, at the end of a long day, I can jump on, play two, three games in
Yeah.
a span of, 20 minutes
Yeah.
and get out of there.
Definitely.
And so that's really what appeals to me the most about Hearthstone right now.
Hmm.
That and I also really like their auto builder, the
Oh yeah.
battlegrounds.
Sure. Yeah.
So that's like between those two, I just find that Hearthstone kind of just gives me everything that I want
Hmm.
in that genre
Mm-hmm.
in a very like fast and efficient way.
Yeah.
So
Cool. Have you played did other digital ones like Eternals?
I don't think I've played Eternals
Yeah.
actually.
What I really liked about Eternals, and I mean Hearthstone does this in the same vein, is that you couldn't do it in an analog format. There's just too much interaction with randomness and cards in the graveyard retaining their statuses and things like that.
Right.
So there's a lot of interaction that could only realistically be tracked digitally, which I think is nice of them to use that format in a take advantage of the format they're in.
Right. See, I think the randomness is really important
Yeah.
because Hearthstone does it a lot, and a lot of competitive players they kind of gripe about that, like oh RNG and
Sure.
RNG's this, and that's why I lost or whatever. But when I'm playing Hearthstone, like
Yeah.
the number of because they built that game to be purely digital, and they take advantage of the fact that it's digital in pretty
Yep.
much every way. Like
Mm.
almost all of their mechanics anymore that come out really wouldn't be feasible in paper.
Yep.
And so one of the ways they do that is they randomly generate cards as a
Mm.
form of card advantage. So rather than drawing a card from my deck, I'm often just like getting a random card of my class, or
Yep.
I play rogue, so
Oh yeah.
stealing a random card from my opponent, right?
Yep.
But what that does is it makes it so that the games never get stale.
Yeah.
Like every time I play the game, it's different. I'm always thinking on my toes, like, and I really appreciate that as my kind of escape game, right? Like
Totally. Totally.
I don't want it to get old.
Yep.
Whereas games that are not random at all,
Yep.
over time those matchups they can feel repetitive,
Mm.
right? And so that's something that I actually really appreciate about Hearthstone, and was honestly an inspiration to us when we were making Varia because we ended up making our numbers randomized using dice.
Yep.
And the main reason we did that was because of the nature of the game. You move through your deck so quickly
Yeah.
that it could have felt stale really fast.
Yep.
But by having randomized numbers, then you can play the same card like 100 times
Hmm.
and it'll react differently each time,
Yeah, and I
which is
think
really nice.
I think what you said people complain about the randomization. I think for me a thing that I find appealing just in general with game design is that a lot of what your decision making is balancing and weighing up your potential luck in any given
Right,
situation. And so,
right.
if I were to roll this dice, 66% of the outcomes are good for me, 33% are bad. Should I do this action or should I go for this action where 25% of the outcomes are good for me and 75% are bad? Like, I think that's a
Right,
valid part of the strategy, even if it's inherently random. It's still weighing up that randomness that's actually interesting.
right. The other great thing about randomness is that it's an ego cushion
Yeah.
because like if you're playing chess and you lose, you
Mm.
lost because you made the wrong decision, like
Yep.
flat out. There is no randomness. You did something wrong,
Yep.
right? But when you're playing a game that has an inherent randomness to it, when you roll the die and it ends in your favor, your brain interprets that as I'm smart, I made the right play.
Yeah.
But if you roll a dice and you get a 1, your brain interprets that as, oh, the dice just aren't in my favor.
Yeah, sure,
So
sure.
it's like it's a way for you to like maintain that kind of positive feedback
Totally.
system
Yeah.
and keep having fun. Like you
Yep.
don't get discouraged as easily. You always have this fallback for like, oh well, next time I'll roll better.
Yep.
And it just makes it easier to accept the loss, which inherently just makes the game more fun.
Cool.
So I mean I love randomness. Obviously you can't go nuts
Yeah,
because then
yeah.
there's no strategy. So then
Yeah.
like what's the point? We'll just flip quarters,
Yeah, sure, sure.
Um, but yeah, I think a little bit of randomness can go a long way
That's
in
awesome.
game design for
Yeah.
sure.
And definitely extend the replayability and just sort of
Right.
broaden the strategy involved. I mean, it's why my favorite mode of Magic is drafting, because you have to work with what you're given. You can't pre-construct the most perfect meta. You can't go online,
Right.
spend 4 hours figuring out, and then like going to obscure stores in the middle of strip malls because they've got the one card you need. Just like, no, just draft, get a bunch of packs, deal with what you're given, and
Right.
do the best you can. And I really
Right.
enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah. Drafting is something that we would love to one day do when we have, because you need a decent card pool
Of
to do
course.
that, and you also need a fan base who really gets the game. Like if you have a brand new game, it's kind of hard to draft a new
Yeah.
game. It would be like if you tried to draft fantasy football and you've never seen, you don't know what football is. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, how do I do this? Right? Like you're just gonna flounder.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a huge fan of drafting. Like
Yeah.
I really, like you said, appreciate just the ability of your puzzle solving every time. Like you're given a set of tools and you have to figure out like, how do I use these in the most efficient way
Mm.
to achieve my goal, which is obviously winning the game,
Yep.
right?
100%. All right. Well, it is 11:05. I think we should talk about Varia, the first-person card
Yeah,
game, which is
let's do it.
yours. So, hi everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining. I'm Mark from Tabletopia, and I'm joined by Anthony, who's one of the co-designers of Varia, which is what we're looking at right now. How are you doing, Anthony?
That's right. I'm doing good. We're
Awesome.
excited.
Oh
We're
yeah.
on the second week. We're almost there,
Yep.
so we're just trying to push through to that, get that 100%, and then we can take a breath, sigh relief, and then really start pushing towards some stretch goals and,
Yep.
getting ready to do some fun stuff.
That's
So
awesome. You're at 13.3K out of 15 right now. So you're super on track. I mean, you're going to do it. Um
yeah,
you're this
knock
close.
on wood.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Um with this game, you wanted to design. I mean, both of you come from a Magic background, right? We were just talking about, different CCGs that we're fans of, and I mean,
Right.
so what is it that made you want to make your own, and what is it that makes Varia a bit different?
So, Sean and I co-designed this game with my friend Sean. We met back in college, which seems like eons ago now.
Yeah.
But really, our goal was, so we are trading card game enthusiasts. Like, we love just that style of game because of the freedom and the replayability and the creativity that they often allow of the player,
Yep.
right? To really kind of build a deck that represents you in some way, right?
Yep.
Um, and so we always talked about making a card game, but we wanted to, if we were to ever do it, we didn't want to just make another RTS style card game because, like, why? If I want to
Yeah.
play one of those games, I'm either going to play Magic or Hearthstone or maybe Legends of Runeterra or, Yu-Gi-Oh, like one of the bigger ones, right? Like
Yep.
they've already been done. They've been done really well. Like we wanted to do something different.
And you call
And
you
so,
called you called those games RTS. What do you mean by that?
right. So what I mean by that is basically you're a general and you're in control of minions and other assets that you're essentially trying to build up into a board state
Yep.
that you can then use to overwhelm your opponent. So
Yep.
much like StarCraft,
Yep.
you start small, you gather resources, you build up this state in which you can then, zerg and crush your opponent.
Yeah.
It's a similar style, like it's a similar gameplay loop, if
Yeah.
you will. And so we didn't want to do that. And so ultimately, the thing that kind of inspired Varia came both from myself and from Sean. On my side, it was I grew up playing D&D,
Mm-hmm.
and we used to play over AOL Instant Messenger
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
once
Wow.
a
Old
week,
school.
right? Yeah, I'm dating myself. Um, but what we would do, so we would play once a week, and we would keep our character sheets in
Yep.
front of us, and then what we would do while we were waiting for the next week to roll around is we would have a fight club where we would take our characters and we would just fight each other rather
Yep.
than fight the monsters, in the adventure. Like me, the druid, I would fight my cousin who was a rogue,
Oh,
and we would
cool.
just see who would win because we were the same level. We had
Yep.
relatively, on par abilities, right?
Yep.
And so I always really liked that, and I always wished that there was a game that basically did that. And Sean always wanted to be one of the characters on the front line of
Yep.
the RTS rather than the general. He always thought, like, what would that be like to be, the frontline soldier, and you're in the thick of everything and
Yep.
you just have to react. And so ultimately we just combine those two ideas, and Varia really is a card game where rather than having a slew of minions, you are just one person, you're one character, you're fighting one other character, and you're just seeing who wins, like in a toe-to-toe fight, like at two MMA fighters, or like if you play Mortal Kombat, right? Scorpion versus
Yep.
Sub-Zero.
Yep.
That's really the kind of core of what Varia is. It is a combat system that enables you to create a class or play one right out of the box
Yep.
against your friend who has either created their own class or is playing out of the box, and you just see who's better.
Yep.
And that's really it. It's kind of just a 1v1 fight to the death.
And you're directly attacking your opponent. There's no minions
Yes.
in the way.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
It's imagine like I use MMA and boxing a lot as examples because they were also like big influences on the two of us. We would watch boxing matches and try to figure out, like, okay, what are these guys doing? They're dodging and they're punching and
Yeah.
they're backstepping, and it's like a dance,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the thing that I always say is, like, when you play Varia, you have to imagine that you just walked into a cage
Yep.
and the door shut and it locked, and it's just you and one other person, and only one of you is coming out alive.
Yeah. Of
Like,
course.
that's the game.
Yeah. We've
So
got Sean in the comments, and he's just saying he's a huge fan of story-driven casual gaming.
yes.
Which,
Yeah, that is true. That is one of the other really big things is, we wanted to make sure that each of our classes really put you in the shoes of whatever that class is. Like,
Yeah.
when you play the assassin, we want the mechanics to reinforce to you that you are an assassin. Like, that's really one of our biggest design goals,
Yep.
is making sure that you walk away feeling like a warrior, feeling like
A
you were just a
rogue.
wizard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
Awesome.
So anytime we're designing a deck and we do our play tests, like internally or externally with like study groups and stuff, that's the first question we ask them. Did you feel like a sorcerer?
Yep.
If they say no, we just stop and go fix it.
Okay. Sure. That's a really cool design philosophy. And I think immersion is. I find it really important in gaming, and so it's really cool you put the focus on that. The art of this game is gorgeous, by the way. Who did you have on board to make it?
So we actually worked with a bunch of super talented artists from just all over, really.
Cool.
I wish it was a more interesting story than I just scoured ArtStation
Yeah.
and Sean scoured ArtStation until we just found artists who we thought had really interesting technique or sense of color
Mm.
or movement, and honestly, like, in order to kind of set us apart, some of the artists that we would find had never done fantasy work before. Like,
Cool.
they were doing self portraits, or landscapes or something. But if they're talented, you know, talented people can do things outside of their comfort zone
Yep.
and make, you know, some really interesting work.
Yeah,
And
of course.
some of our really like just breathtakingly awesome images came from people who have never worked in this industry before, but were excited to try, you
Awesome.
know, and we kind of were the same way being an indie company, right? Like
Yeah.
we're excited to be able to try and do this, you know, on our own, and we found some camaraderie with some artists who were kind of feeling the same way, which I
Awesome.
think really worked out in our favor.
That's really cool. If there's anything else you'd like to tell us about the game, I'd love to hear it. Otherwise, let's get into learning how to play it. It's currently
Yeah,
on
definitely.
Tabletopia, so we've got the little setup that you put together right here, and I'd love to learn how to play it.
Yeah, we can dive right in.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
so the
yeah.
setup that we're gonna play is actually it's not the one that's currently live for free, like that anybody can play on
Yep.
Tabletopia. It's one that we've made to mimic essentially the setup we would use if we were to attend a con and needed to teach somebody really quickly.
Cool.
So the decks are scripted. I will know exactly what you're drawing. Please don't shuffle
Yep.
the
Sure.
deck. Um, Honestly, you could probably just play with the cards like on the table if you want to,
Sure.
and then we can just kind of walk through it.
Yep. Cool. I mean, I'll let you tell me what to do, and I'll go from there.
Okay. Did you join? Are you in the game?
I am now in the game, yes.
Oh, there you are. Excellent. All right. Okay, so just to kind of orient to the board, right?
Hmm.
Uh, when you buy a class deck, it comes with everything that you need to play. So it'll come with a deck of action cards. Those cards represent the things that your character can do. So like punches, kicks, dodges, blocks, that
Yep.
sort of thing. That would be your, you know, right now you have a face down pile of cards. That's your action deck,
Hmm.
right? You'll also get tokens and stacks. So these cards off to the side here.
Mm-hmm.
The tokens are full size, the stacks are half sized. Really, they are generated by the actions in your deck.
Hmm.
So some things will say like create a token. So we make sure that you have the tokens in your box.
Okay.
Some will say apply a stack to your opponent. So we provide the stacks to you as well.
Yep.
And stacks are our way of tracking buffs and debuffs.
Okay.
Right. And then the last thing that comes in the box is your equipment, right? Because if you were going to walk into a fight in, say, D&D or some other fantasy property, you most likely have, you know, a sword or two strapped to your back.
You probably want to go
So,
in well equipped, yeah.
right. So the other thing that comes along with the deck is your items.
Yep.
And so right now in front of you, what you have is you have a single item card and you have a deck of actions. Right.
Yep.
And so they start in play in front of you. Everything else is off to the side. And if we need them, we'll get to them. And really, the majority of the action takes place in this center section here where it says Varia.
Mm.
This is what's called the timeline.
Mm.
And so what we will be doing is we'll be taking actions from our hand and planning them onto the timeline. So you can think of them as kind of like a combo. So maybe left, left, right is like three different
Yeah,
punches.
sure.
And then your opponent will get to respond to those in time with maybe like duck, duck, dodge,
Yep.
let's say. Right.
Yep.
And so
Duck, dive, dodge.
right, dive, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. Exactly. We should actually make those cards. All right, now you're distracted.
All right. Oh, sorry.
Okay. So basically, play will happen in front of us on this, you know, timeline.
Yeah.
And we'll just continuously take turns being active and reactive until somebody ends up at 0 health.
Yep. Cool.
So I think the first thing to do would be if you could just take the top card of your deck and flip it over on the front of the table and just kind of maximize it so that everyone can see it. I'll
Critical
just orient
strike.
everybody to how to read a card,
Okay.
right? So at the top in the center, we have the card's name. That's
Yep.
just how we would refer to it. To the left of that are these little icons. They're called action points, and that is the card's cost.
Okay.
So every turn you have 10 action points that you can spend.
Yep.
This card would cost 3 of those 10.
Okay. Yep.
In the center, we have the rules text. So every card has its own unique rules text. For those of you who have never played a CCG before, the thing that makes a card game super interesting is that the game has a base set of rules, and then each card has its own additional rule that either adds to the base rules or modifies the base rules in some way.
And that's
So every
really
card-
where the game shines, because every
Exactly.
card has its own unique effect that just does something different.
Right. And that's really the crux of the game, is that each card has its own little rule. Below the rules, we have super types and subtypes, so they identify kind of what the card is. In this case, it's a physical attack with a subtype of strength.
Yep.
Next to the subtypes, we have the attribute requirement. So there's a little diamond in the bottom right part of the card. What that does is it just shows that your card is of the aggression alignment. And that's really used in deck building.
Okay.
Our game does not have lands or any sort of in-deck resource.
Yep.
All of the restrictions happen before you play during deck building.
Yep.
And so that's what the attribute kind of does for you. And then up in the top right corner of the card, since this is an attack, or if it were a block, it has what is called a power and a focus. So the power is the number inside of the square.
Yep.
And the focus is the number inside of the triangle. The reason that they are a square and a triangle is because they also come with dice. So the power comes with a d6. So you could read that as 3 plus 1d6. And the focus comes with a d4. So you could read that as 3 plus 1d4.
Cool.
Right.
Cool.
So if you'd like, we can just dive right in.
Yeah, great.
Basically, what you would do to start a game is you would take your action deck, which is 30 cards, and you would shuffle it. So don't do that. And then you would take your items, you would set those in front of you face up, and then push everything else to the side. Right. So on the first turn of the game, each player draws 6 cards.
Okay. Would you like me to do
So
that
you can
now?
go ahead. Yeah, you can go ahead and do that.
5 more? Yep. Okay.
Okay. And so the next thing we would do is we would decide who is going to be the first active player for the game.
Okay.
And normally you would do that just by rolling a d6 and taking the high number, playing rock paper scissors, something like that. In the same vein of just figuring out who goes first, right?
Yep.
For this, I'm just going to have you go first.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and one other thing really quick, you can go over all the way on the left here if you want to make that white card really big. This is the turn structure.
Yep.
So each turn has 8 steps in it. We have start of turn. This is where both players draw 2 cards and regain all action points.
Yep.
For the first turn of the game, instead you draw 6 and start with 10.
Cool.
Right. The second step is movement. We'll cover that in a minute. The third step is action. This is where the active player gets to plan any actions from their hand and what is called create moments.
Okay.
Right? So every single turn has a minimum of 1 moment on the timeline where players can plan actions. There is no maximum, but the number of moments that exist is set by the active player.
Okay.
So, for example, what I would like you to do is from your hand, take a critical strike and just place it onto the timeline in the first slot there.
In the V?
Yep, perfect.
Yep.
Okay. So what you've just done is you've planned an action.
Okay.
Okay. And you've done so in moment 1. right?
Yep.
So now what I would like you to do is take another critical strike and put it next to it in the second moment.
Yep.
Okay, so now what you've done is you've planned an additional action and you've created moment 2,
Okay.
right? So go ahead and do that one more time,
Yep.
but use your item this time.
Use my item.
So take your item and
Yep.
put it onto the timeline in front of you.
Okay, great.
So some item cards can be used as actions.
Okay.
So, for example, your item, Thorium Crusher, if you want to just make that big, essentially what that item does is it just lets you perform a critical strike.
Oh, sure. Yep.
So you can think of items as kind of cards that are always in your hand, so
Yep.
to speak. They're there, you can always use them.
Got it.
Right. So at this point, what you've done is you have planned 3 actions and you've created a 3-moment turn.
Yep.
Right. And if you'd like, you can just say pass.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll pass.
So what this represents is your initial plan. You are trying to just bash me 3 times.
Okay.
Right. Now it goes to the reaction step of the turn. This is my opportunity as the reactive player to respond to what you have done. So what I am unable to do as a reactive player and what we are both unable to do for the rest of this turn is create additional moments.
Yep.
You as the active player get to set the cadence of the turn by determining how many moments will exist.
Yep.
That's your advantage. My advantage is that I know what you're doing and I get to respond to it.
Okay, cool.
Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a defend here, a sublimate here. Oh, that dropped through a little bit. And a subtle strike here.
Okay. And
so,
by the way, all of these
ahead.
have a 3 cost in the top left, which is 9 of your 10. Is that right?
Correct.
Cool.
Yes, but we have not paid yet.
Okay.
So the next step would be that you and I would each get to. So first, you would get to play what is called fast actions, and I would get to play what is called fast actions. We're going to skip that for now. We're just going to keep things simple, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to skip ahead to the resolution. So at this point, you have created your plan.
Yep.
I have created my plan. Let's say we're both happy with it.
Cool.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to resolve. And when you resolve the turn, you do it 1 moment at a time.
Right.
And so each moment has basically 4 little mini steps in it. It's payment, the start of the moment, what is called the clash, and then the end of the moment. So for moment 1 here, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pay to perform our actions. So if you click on your little 10 there, and you reduce it by 3, and I will do the same.
Cool.
Okay. So now that we have both paid for our actions, they have been performed. So you're swinging a hammer at me, I am raising a shield.
Yep.
Right. So now we get to what is called the clash. This is where 2 actions go up against each other, and we figure out who won, who deals damage, who doesn't, etc.
Okay.
Right. What you have played is an attack. What I have played is a block. Okay.
Yep.
When an attack goes up against a block, it has a chance to miss.
Yep.
And so the way that we determine whether or not you hit me or if you miss me is by comparing focus. So your focus is 3 plus a d4. If you want to grab a d4.
Yep.
And my focus is 0 plus a d4.
Yep.
So when we roll our dice, as long as your total focus is equal to or higher than mine, then you will hit me.
Okay.
Right? Your power is 3 plus a d6. My power is 6 plus a d6. So you can go ahead and grab a d6 as well.
Yep.
And so when you roll this, if your power is greater than mine, you will deal damage to me equal to the difference.
Okay. Greater than or equal to?
Just greater than.
Okay, but
So
for the focus, it's greater than or equal to.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. So the closest analog to this is in D&D, right?
Okay.
If you have an armor class of 12,
yep.
In order for you to be hit, your person attacking you needs to roll a 12 or higher.
Yeah,
Right?
sure. Yep.
That's basically how focus works here.
Yep.
And then for damage, again, think of it like damage reduction. I
Yep.
right now have a damage reduction of 6 plus d6.
Yep.
So you just have to deal one more than that
Yeah,
in order
sure.
to hurt me.
Great.
So
So
what we can do is we can just go ahead and roll.
roll the d4? Or roll both?
Both.
Oh,
You can
cool.
just roll both at the same time. Yep.
Yep. Ooh. I got a 4, which does succeed against a...
Yes.
No, a 4, yep.
Right. So as you can see, you rolled terribly,
Yes.
and I rolled amazing for focus, right?
Yeah.
But the flavor of my action is that I'm standing still and blocking.
Yeah.
So even at my best, at a 4, and at your worst, you're still hitting me.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But where it's interesting is that you rolled a 6 for power.
Yeah.
So in total, you're trying to deal 9 to me.
Yeah.
I only rolled a 3, but my base power is 6.
Yeah.
So I'm preventing nothing.
Yeah.
So essentially,
Nothing
happens
happens
here.
Great.
Exactly.
Cool.
And so with that, the moment is resolved, and we
Mhm.
would move on to moment 2.
Okay. Oh,
And so-
bring them with me.
So at this point, we would just start over again.
Yep.
And we would pay for our actions. So,
So
I'd pay another 3.
Yep.
And then we just do it again.
Okay.
So this time, I have a 4/4 as my block.
Ah, yep.
And so my total focus is 7.
My
right
total is 5.
now. Okay. So what happens here is that you do not deal any damage.
Mm.
I do not prevent any damage. If you were to have an ability on your card that said like on hit, do something, none of that happens. What happened here is called a focus miss.
Yep.
So since your focus was lower than mine, you just miss. This is the equivalent of you just swing and whiff.
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
And so now we'll move on to the third one. In this one, we have an attack going in against an attack.
Yep.
So rather than playing defensive, I just attacked into your attack.
And what distinguishes that the cards are attacks or defense?
So 2 things. One, if you look at the super type of the cards, if you make sublimate really big,
Yeah.
in the bottom left corner of that card, it says magical block.
Mm-hmm.
And in the top right corner of the card, the power symbol is shaped like a shield.
Oh, yeah,
If
cool.
you look at subtle strike, if you make that one really big, it'll
Yeah.
say physical attack. And also the power symbol is shaped like a spear.
Yep.
So it's much more aggressive
Cool.
looking.
Okay, great. Easy.
So when an attack faces an attack,
Mm.
they cannot miss due to focus.
Okay.
Because we're both going right at each other,
Yep.
right? I'm not trying to get out of the way. You're not trying to get out of the way.
So do we bother rolling the d4?
So most of the time, if you want to shorthand and just make the game go faster, you can totally skip the D4 roll.
Okay.
But some cards, like your Thorium Crusher, care about what your focus roll is.
Ah.
And so in that event, you would still just roll it.
Yeah, of course. So
Or if there was a card that cared about the number of die that were rolled in a turn,
Yep.
you would still roll it.
yeah, sure.
Right.
So in this case, when making a focus roll for this action, if I roll the maximum value for either of the dice, this action gets 3 to attack.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So I want to roll a 4 out of 4 or a 6 out of 6.
So with this one, it's just the focus.
It's
that
just
matters.
focus. Oh, when making a focus roll. Okay, great. Yep.
Yeah.
Cool.
The reason we'll cover why it's worded that way in a minute. Basically to give you a hint, there's a way that you can have multiple focus dice.
Yep.
So if, for example, Thorium Crusher, let's say you had 3 focus die.
Yep.
If any of those focus die end up as a 4,
Yep.
you would critical hit.
Cool. Easy. All right. I want a 4. I did not. All right.
And what did you get for power?
Gonna roll my 6. Oh, I got a 1.
Oh, 1. Okay. I got a 1 as well.
Okay.
So what happens here is I have a total of 4 power,
Yep.
and you have 4
Total
as
of 4
well.
power.
So neither one of us takes any damage. We just cancel each other out.
We cancel each
My
other
4
out.
and your 4.
We don't both deal 4 to each other?
No.
Okay.
You think of it as like 2 swords that hit each other and clash.
In this
right?
moment. Great. Cool.
if you would have rolled higher than me,
Mm.
you would deal the difference to me.
Okay,
So
cool.
let's say you rolled a 6.
Yep.
Then you would have dealt 5 damage to me.
Yep.
But what's interesting is that if I would have rolled a 6, I would have dealt 5 damage to you.
Despite me being the attacker.
The active
The
player,
active
exactly,
player.
right.
Yep.
So in Varia, there is no concept really of your turn, my turn.
Okay.
You're just as vulnerable when you're the active player
Yep.
as you are when you're the reactive player.
Cool.
The only difference is just who is going first rather than second.
Yep.
But I'm in just as much of a position to hurt you as you are to hurt me.
Yeah, sure. Cool.
Okay.
Okay.
So with that, we have completed the first turn.
Cool.
And so what we would do is all of our actions, we would move to our discard pile.
Yep.
Since you used an item, you would just move it back to your item tray.
Yep, sure. And the item is signified by the gold token on the bottom. That's how I sort of just
Yes.
visually shorthand that.
Yes, correct. And they have a slightly different card frame. They have a copper
Cool.
type box at the bottom, as well as nameplate at the top.
Yep.
But yes, the easiest identifier is that gold value.
Cool.
And really what that gold value does is when you're building a deck, you're allowed to have a maximum of 30 gold worth of items as part of your character build.
Yep, cool.
Right. So with that, the first turn is over. And what we would do is I now become the active player.
Yep.
You're now the reactive player.
Yep.
And we would go to start of turn.
Cool.
So we would each draw 2 cards. Right.
Okay. Take 2 cards, and I reset my action points to 10.
Correct.
Cool.
And I do the same.
Cool. Okay, cool. The flow is pretty intuitive once you break it down like that.
Yeah, the easiest way, honestly, is just think about, like, if I was doing this in real life, what would happen?
Yeah, cool.
Because that's really how we modeled a lot of our mechanics. Like, and Sean's probably going to kill me for saying this, but we spent a lot of time in the same room.
Yep.
Where we would say, like, okay, if you were standing there and I was standing here and I tried to punch you,
yeah.
And you know, how would that work? And like, well, what if, you know, I ducked? Like, how would that work? And so we would kind of act it out and pantomime a little bit, but in doing so, you know, we were able to figure out these kind of mechanics that are representative of really what you are doing, because this is ultimately, you and I are locked in a battle.
Yeah,
right?
Sure. I like that your design sessions are just improv lightsaber sessions.
Oh yeah, that is that's how we decide things at the office. We just pull out our lightsabers and go to town.
Awesome.
Okay, so now I am the active player.
Okay.
So again, I'm going to skip step 2 movement for now. We'll come back to that. So we'll go right to step 3. I get to make my initial plan.
Yep.
And set the cadence for the turn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtle strike, transfusion Drega, transfusion Drega.
Cool.
So basically, I am doing the same thing that you did. I'm creating a 3-moment turn, and now you get the chance to respond.
Okay.
So
let's see.
Oops, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, what would you like me to play?
Oh, excellent. So I know already that you have 2 sublimate cards in your hand. So if you make my subtle strike big, what you'll notice is that the rule on subtle strike says that you cannot play anything against it that has higher power.
Okay, sure.
So your sublimates are no good here, is really what it's saying. So what I'd like you to do is take your thorium crusher and plan it in moment 1 instead.
Great.
Since that has a power of 3.
Yep. Cool.
Then against the 2 transfusion Dregas, go ahead and put 2 sublimates.
Yep. Great.
Okay. So basically what we just did there is, again, steps 3 and 4. I did my active step where I made my initial plan. You had a reactive step where you got to plan something in response.
Cool.
Right? Now we're going to go to step 5, which is the fast action step.
Okay.
So what happens is it comes back to me. I'm the active player. I now see how you are responding to me, and I have a chance to alter my plan.
Okay.
Okay? Certain cards have the ability fast. So if you make my dagger really big,
Yep.
you'll notice that it has the ability fast.
Yep.
It also has a little lightning bolt symbol in the
Yep.
top left up by the power. That's there just to help you when fanning the cards in your hand.
Cool.
Right. So what fast means is that I'm able to use this action to basically change up my initial plan.
Yep.
And I can do that in one of two ways. The first of which is I can do a replacement. So what I could do is I could take my dagger here, my Bowie knife, and I could say, I'm going to use that, whoops, instead of my transfusion Drega.
Yep.
Okay. And so what would happen is my transfusion Drega would go face down to this forgotten zone.
Okay.
That's option one. Option two is that I can use fast actions to create a combo.
Okay.
And so what I could do is I could say, I'm going to also use my dagger here.
Yep.
Whoops. And so what happens when cards are combined is that they are treated as a single card that shares everything.
Okay.
So for example, this card here would cost a total of 5 action points to perform.
Yep.
It would be a physical magical attack. It would have a total power of 2 plus 2d6.
Yep.
And a total focus of 2 plus 2d4.
Cool.
Right. So you just treat it as one giant card.
You combine the values of all these, of everything, like these,
everything.
The top effects, the status, the type, everything.
Yep, everything. Cool. Everything. It fuses into one giant action.
And if there are any card effects that would interact with, say, a magical attack, this Bowie knife is now magical, right?
Yes, as well as physical.
As well as physical, which is here. Yep, cool.
So the reason that I might want to do that is because your sublimate has a naturally high focus. So my chance of hitting you was originally very low.
Yeah.
Because my focus is 2, yours is 4.
Yeah.
But now that I get to roll that second die, I have a higher chance of actually landing a hit on you.
Yeah. Oh, so you get to roll 2d6 and 2d4.
Correct.
Very cool.
Yeah. So at this point, what would happen is I would pass back to you.
Yep.
And if you had any fast actions, you would get a chance to respond to what I just did.
Yep.
Okay. And basically that pattern goes back and forth until both of us are happy with our plans or we just run out of stuff to do.
And for pedantic players, I assume the way to do that is one person passes, the other person passes, or if they don't pass, the other person can say, well, hold on, now you've changed the plan, I'm going to change the plan again.
Right, exactly. The trigger that basically ends this kind of loop is both players pass without doing anything else. Cool. Right. So for now, I'm just going to ask you just pass and do nothing.
Yep, that's what I do.
Awesome. Okay. And so now what we would do is I would say I also pass, and we would go to resolve.
Cool.
So in this one, it's very similar to last turn. So subtle strike versus your hammer.
Yep. I have a 6 focus.
Okay. So for this, since it's an attack into an attack, they're both going to hit.
Yep.
All you were caring about there is did you get the critical?
Yep, I did not get the critical.
Right. So your total power is what?
My total power is 5.
Okay. Mine is 6. So what would happen is I deal 1 damage to you.
Oof.
Okay.
Cool.
Now we would move on to moment 2.
And so you get additional dice.
Yep.
Very cool.
So now we would roll.
Yep.
And now focus is important because you're blocking.
Yep. So I have a 7.
Your total is a 7. Okay, I have a 8.
Okay.
So before I would have missed, but now that I got that extra die, I'm getting that hit in.
Yeah.
And my total power here is 9.
Yep. My total is 5.
Okay, so then you would take 4.
Yep.
And because my actions are combined and they're treated as one giant action,
Yep.
I would actually regain 4 health points because of my transfusion
Because of the
Drega's ability.
transfusion
Yeah,
vampire.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm at max health, so
Yep.
I can't heal
You
anymore
cannot.
above my
You
maximum.
can't overheal.
You cannot.
Okay. And by the way, as we've been doing this, I should have spent 4 action points and 3 action points.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So another fun little shorthand is that if you just read the timeline and see that we're both under 10,
Yep.
you can just skip that.
Yep.
It's there more to just create a boundary that keeps us in a fair game state.
Cool.
But that's another thing that can really just speed up play as you basically get accustomed to the game.
I can just see
Is
I've got
that-
4, 3, 3, 10. That's
Yeah.
fine. Don't need to count it.
Exactly. And for me, I have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're good.
Great.
Right.
Cool.
We can have a gentleman's agreement where we just don't worry about it.
Awesome. Oh, awesome.
And so then we would just move on to this final moment here where I'm most likely going to miss because, whoops. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Because your focus is naturally high.
Yep. I have a crit focus of 8.
Amazing roll.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I.
So I mean,
Yeah.
not only do I miss, but I stood no chance of dealing any damage to you whatsoever.
Yeah. That is 7v10. So the difference being 3, you take 3 damage.
So I do not because you're blocking.
Oh, because I'm blocking. That's right.
Exactly.
Yep. Great. Cool.
Okay.
Awesome.
So then with that, we would just end the turn and move everything to the discard, except my item
Yep.
and your item. Exactly.
Cool.
All right. So now we'll go. So that's the second kind of major combat wrinkle is fast action. So the first thing we had was just establishing the timeline and, attacks versus blocks.
Yep.
That's the kind of core of Varia gameplay right there. The first pillar is just attacks versus blocks. What do you do?
Got it.
Right. The second major pillar is fast actions and how you can use them to kind of manipulate what you've already planned to do. And now finally, the third pillar of our combat is distance.
Okay.
Okay. So up until this point, you and I have been rock'em sock'em robots.
Yeah.
We've been standing next to each other, just wailing on each other until one of our heads pop. Right.
Yeah.
But now what we're going to do is we're going to introduce a concept of distance to the game.
Okay.
So if you haven't already, go ahead and draw 2 cards.
Yep.
And you are now the active player.
Okay.
And so what I would like you to do is take a card in your hand called Flurry of Fists.
Yep.
And plan it into moment 1.
Yep.
And then go ahead and just make that card big so everyone can see it. What this card does is when you plan it, you can create a token that is a copy of it in the next available moment. You can do it as many times as you want.
Oh, wow.
So you could just go to infinity if you wanted to. You wouldn't be able to pay for it.
Yeah.
But you can, right?
So set aside here are the tokens that are needed for cards that interact with it.
Exactly. So what I'd like you to do is just create 4 more tokens.
Okay.
So what you're doing now is you're going wide.
Oh, yeah.
You're trying to take advantage of the fact that you know that I only have 4 cards in my hand.
Yeah, sure.
So the odds of me being able to respond to all of this and also be able to pay for it because your actions are very cheap. They're only 2 each, are low, right? So you're trying to exploit an opening.
Got it.
Right? What I am going to do is in my reactive step, I'm going to play a backflip.
Okay.
And so backflip, if you make that big, has a little icon on it that says start of moment. And the reason that start of moment is because it's an hourglass with the top half filled in. If the bottom half was filled in, it would be end of moment.
Okay.
Right? And all that does is it indicates when the effect happens.
Yep.
It's like in Varia, 99% of the stuff that occurs in time.
Yep.
So on the timeline.
Yep.
Not right when you plan the card. That's more rare.
Yep.
Most things occur kind of like in time.
Cool.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say pass. What I'd like you to do is also say pass.
I also pass.
So what's happening is neither one of us is making any changes with fast actions, right?
Yep.
And we're going to go to resolve. So when we go to resolve, we would first pay for our actions,
Mm-hmm.
and then the start of moment would occur
Yep.
in which my card's ability would trigger. And what it says is it says disengage,
Yep.
right? So you and I as players can be in one of two states according to each other. We can
Okay.
be engaged with each other, which
Yep.
means we're standing right next to each other, or we can be disengaged,
Okay.
which you can think of as, we're social distancing. We're six
Yes.
feet apart, right? So at the start of the moment, I'm going to disengage,
Okay.
right? While we are disengaged, any attacks that you have that do not have the keyword ranged
Okay.
will automatically miss.
Yep.
And so this is called a distance miss. And the easiest way to think about this is like if we were standing right next to each other and you tried to punch me,
Yep.
you could. But
Yep.
if I was on the other side of the room, you can't,
Cool.
right? And so essentially what's going to happen now is I'm disengaged from you
Yep.
for the remainder of the turn until you engage me or I engage you. And
And
since
if you had had more cards in the timeline, would you have pulled all of them back?
yes, I would have.
Okay.
That's an easy way to track it.
Yep.
That's my favorite way to track it. You can track it however you want. You can use minis that represent
Yep.
your characters. I like to use the cards because, and here I'm just going to do this. This isn't what I'm doing, obviously, but
Yeah. Yeah.
certain cards can have you disengage and engage in time.
Yep.
So what I like to do is say, okay, we disengaged, and then here we're engaged, we're disengaged,
Yep.
and it kind of makes it easier to kind of see and read.
Cool.
But yeah, essentially what I did was I backflipped,
Yep.
and now you're just going to stand there and flail
And
for 5
nothing
straight
happens.
moments and miss every time.
Yep. Cool.
So
And
that is.
if
Oops, sorry. Go
oh
ahead.
no, all I was going to say is, once you had played down your reaction, if I wanted to do a fast reaction where I could change my plans, I could.
Yes, you could have. Right. So
Okay.
if you had a card in your hand that was, say, a fast attack with engage,
Yep.
then you would have wanted to replace your moment 2 flurry of fist with that action so that you could basically chase me down and then keep punching me.
Yep. Cool.
So that would have been an instance where, so you had this initial plan. I thought, oh, I got him.
Yeah.
Boom, one card, I'm going to ruin his whole day.
Yep.
And then I would have said pass. You would have replaced this and went, no, I'm ruining your day.
Yep.
Right. And then I would have had to have a whole bunch of fast actions to try to respond
Got it.
to your new plan.
Cool.
So really that is Varia combat.
Cool.
It's those 3 key pillars: attacks versus blocks,
Yep.
fast actions,
Yep.
and then distance.
Cool.
That is what makes up the entirety of the game.
Yep.
And then the cards themselves are what change things up and make things more interesting depending on which character you're playing as.
Cool. Cool.
So really that is it. That is the basic kind of foundation of how to play.
Yep.
And if you'd like to play a real game, we could switch over to the full version of the demo if you want.
Sure,
and just
I'd
go
love to give that a spin.
Cool.
Yeah, why not? All right, Sean wants me to ruin your day.
So if you want,
his words, not mine.
I can. So I can't see chat, but I
Yeah.
don't know if there have been any questions. I can answer questions, or
Absolutely.
while I kind of like set up this other room.
Yeah, definitely. I invite anyone to throw in any questions they have, and after we have a little sparring match here, we'll invite people into our Discord to be able to match up and play their own games. So let's play an example game now, just to give you a feel for how it goes. Okay, we have a question. During this playthrough, I noticed Varia has some cool mechanics. In your opinion, which aspect of Varia is the greatest differentiator from other one-on-one fighting games, e.g. Yomi?
So in my opinion, there's 2. One is the use of dice, and I'm not familiar with the game they mentioned, so maybe that game does use dice.
Mm,
But there are other combat games out there in the similar vein to Varia, like Flesh and Blood and things like that.
yeah,
But they don't use dice, and I think that that's one of our key differentiators
yeah,
because in these styles of games, you burn through your deck very quickly, so things can get repetitive very quickly. But when you use dice, that repetitiveness, and this goes back to what we were speaking to earlier,
mm,
doesn't show up as much because your cards end up functioning differently every time you play them,
yeah.
basically. And
How?
the
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just say the other key differentiator that we have is distance.
Mm,
So what I've seen with a lot of these games is that they have no concept of distance, which to me just doesn't. This is me personally speaking, right? Doesn't make sense
yeah,
because if you're going to tell me that I'm an archer, then I have to. There has to be distance somehow, right? Because otherwise, what good is a bow,
yeah,
right? If we're gonna stand face to face and you have a two-handed hammer, like I'm not gonna bring a bow. That's crazy. It's like
yeah,
bringing a
yeah.
knife to a gunfight, right? So that's kind of our other key differentiator is that we have this system of distance that we utilize.
Cool. That's really good to hear. How many decks or classes does the game start with? At least on this
So
Kickstarter.
So what the Kickstarter is doing is it's adding an additional 7 classes.
Mm.
So right now we have 7 already. We have 1 in each attribute,
Yep.
and the Kickstarter will add an additional 7 to that pool, 1 in each attribute
Cool.
again. So we'll have a total of 14.
Nice.
Unless we hit stretch goals, then we would end up with an additional potentially 11 new classes.
Awesome. And
All right, so I'm actually going to
yeah.
send this to you in chat here.
Great. Thank you. And we'll just go for that. The person who asked the question said, "Thanks. It's always cool to hear the designer's thought process and how the mechanics tie into theme." And that's what I really like about this game too. That it's very thematic and that all the classes are crafted in a way to match how that class would actually play out.
Right. That was our main goal. So what you'll find when you get in here and pilot the full volcanic warrior
Yeah.
is that you are very aggressive.
Yep.
You have very explosive turns, and you are we call it sticky.
Cool.
So my ability to get away from you is going to be hampered because you're going to have a lot of cards that say, start of moment engage on them. So
Right.
you're going to constantly be charging me down, trying to get up in my face.
Okay.
I, on the other hand, as the shadow assassin, am going to be trying to do the opposite. I'm going to be having a lot of high focus dodges, backflips, and the sort of thing to kind of get me out of dodge
Yep.
so that I can kind of slink around the battlefield and wait for that perfect opportunity to unload a really hard hitting strike.
Cool. All right. I like the sound of it. So I need to take a seat. That helps.
Yep. All right. So this is the kind of full Varia experience. So what
Cool.
you have in front of you is a deck of 30 action cards.
Yep.
Which I think you might have needed to shuffle.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know if you did that.
Sure. I will do that first.
I don't remember if I pre-shuffled.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. That's fine. I'll give it a good spin.
I always mean to do that. Like just come in here and fix that.
Yeah. But I mean, I get it. You're running a Kickstarter. There were just so many little things keep happening.
It's just piled up.
Yeah.
So you also have 30 gold worth of items.
Okay.
So your items are your familiar thorium crusher, but then you also have a molten ravager. So you're dual wielding a hammer and an axe.
Seems good.
And I have 3 items. So I have my familiar Bowie knife. I also have an ebon cloak, and I have a profane memento.
Yes, excellent. And if people are not too familiar with CCGs, the italicized text is just flavor, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I got my start in this industry writing names and flavor text for Magic the Gathering.
Nice.
So there was absolutely no way that this game was not going to have flavor text.
Of course,
Like, it just
absolutely.
needed to happen. And as Sean alluded to earlier, he's a huge fan of narrative,
Yeah,
so he would have said the same thing. Like, we
yeah.
need to have
In the
flavor
comments,
text.
he's pointed out the mantra has always been story driven, player focused, which
Yeah,
is a
100%.
really cool way to put it.
And so one cool thing that we did actually to really kind of immerse the player is
Mm.
that on the item cards specifically, we tried to give them flavor text that reads like item text in a video game.
Yeah, cool.
So if you read like Molten Ravager or Thorium Crusher or the Bowie knife, like the little plate down there that has the flavor text on it
Yeah,
is worded in such a way that it kind of like tips you off to the item's origin
yeah.
and maybe like how your character may have come across it in their journeys or whatever.
Nice. Cool. All right.
So the basic setup is we refer to it as 30 30 30. So you have 30 health, 30 cards in your deck,
Yep.
and 30 gold worth of items.
Cool.
And so with that, what we would do is we just decide who's going to be the first active player.
Shall we roll a d6?
Sure.
Let's do it. That is you.
All right. So I'm up first.
All right.
Okay. So we would both draw 6.
Yep.
And then I get to do the first plan. So on the turn structure, the second step of the turn is called movement.
Okay.
So this is one thing that we did not cover before.
Okay.
All that means is that the active player, this is one of the other advantages that the active player gets. The active player gets to decide how we will start the turn.
Okay.
If we will start the turn engaged or disengaged.
Okay.
And so I'm going to say that we're going to start the turn disengaged.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to plan a Phantom's Kiss moment 1
Okay.
and say pass.
Oh, wow. Okay. Phantom's Kiss, ranged. This action will still hit your target if you are disengaged from them, which you are. And at the start of the turn, start of the moment, if you are disengaged from your target, this action gets 3/3 until end of moment. Oh my gosh. That is very powerful.
Yes.
Oh, wow. So now I have the
And
chance to react.
Correct. But you only have 1 moment to work with.
Okay. If you are disengaged from your target, this action gets 3/3 until the end of the moment. Well, I feel like I want to engage. Now, the question I would have is who resolves their start of moment actions first?
So that's a great question. So on all cards have triggers,
Yeah.
right? They have start of moment triggers, end of moment triggers, on hit maybe, right?
Yep.
Whenever multiple triggers are going off at the same time. So in this example, let's say you had a start of moment engage
Let's
and
say I
had
did
a start
that.
of moment. Right, exactly. So what happens is the active players
Yep.
will occur first,
Ah.
and then the
okay.
reactive players will occur.
Okay.
So in this example, I'm active player, so
Yep.
I would get my bonus.
Yep.
If I was reactive player, I would not,
Okay.
because you would engage me first, and
Yep.
then my trigger would see that I'm no longer away from you. Right.
So that is not a good move right now.
Correct. The other interesting thing is that if a single player has multiple triggers go off at the same time, so let's say I had comboed this with another card that also had a start of moment trigger,
Yeah.
the player who controls those gets to choose the order that they happen.
Got it. Okay. So let's see. I wonder if then the best thing to do is throw that. Yeah, okay. I will pass my reaction.
Interesting. Okay. So then what I'm going to do is I will take my dagger
Yep.
and I'll create a combo here
Oh no.
and say pass.
Okay, you may point. Oh dear, you get to roll 2 dice. Well, that's not fun. Well, it's probably not the best, but I will throw this down.
Got it. Okay. So one thing that you could have done
Yeah.
is you could have used your item first
Yep.
and then comboed it,
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah.
and then it would have just been much bigger.
Yep. Can we say I did that? I completely forgot
Absolutely.
about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. No
Yep.
problem. But yeah, that is a great move,
Mm.
right? Because ultimately, so if you make that card explosive charge big,
Mm.
basically what's going to happen is you will engage
Yep.
at start of moment, and since the action will have caused you to close the distance,
Yep.
you'll get bonus power die.
Yep.
So this in opposite of what you were showing before with the Molten Ravager,
Yep.
where because of the way triggers work, Molten Ravager would have been a bad move,
Yep.
right? This is a fantastic reactive move when you're at distance
Yep.
because of the way triggers work.
Yes.
So you will close that distance, you will get the bonus.
You'll
And
you'll still be able to snipe me, but at least I can hit back.
right. You're so what's going to happen here is I'm going to have a larger base focus than you
Yep.
because I will be a 6/6 with 2d6, but you're going to have more power die than me. You're going to have 3 total die
Yep.
that you can roll. But anyway, so I'm going to pass. I'm not going to do anything else here.
Okay. I also pass.
Cool. So then we would go to resolution.
Cool.
So we would pay for these. Obviously, we're under 10,
Yep.
so we're good there. We're both attacking each other, so our focus rolls aren't going to matter in terms of landing the hit.
Yep.
But since you're trying to get a critical, you do want to roll both of your focus
Yep.
die.
That's right.
And so since you made that combo,
yeah.
you have 2 focus die now.
Yes.
And if either one of those comes up as a 4,
Yep.
then you're going to get your critical.
Cool. All right, let's roll them. I did not. Sad
Okay.
times.
And so you just don't forget that you do, in fact, get 1 more power die. You have
So
3
now,
total.
because it's the startup moment, so hold on, just for resolution's sake, we are
yes.
currently disengaged.
Yeah, we jumped ahead a little bit with the rolling of the dice.
Okay.
So the way this would have played out
Yeah.
is we would have started the moment disengaged.
Yep.
Right. We would have paid first. Then at start of moment, my trigger would go off first.
Yep.
I would get boosted up to a 6/6.
Yep, that's right.
Then your trigger would go off, and you would engage me.
Yep,
Right. And then you would gain an additional power die.
that's it. Cool.
Right. And so now
Yep.
that start of moment is over, we would go to the clash, and that's where we roll our dice and
Gotcha,
compare
gotcha.
values.
Cool.
I'm going to keep mine because I already rolled them.
No worries. Oh boy.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Oh my god.
So in total, I am trying to deal 6 + 9, so 15.
15, and in total I'm dealing 6, 12, 16, 17, 18, 19.
Okay. So I will take 4.
Yep.
Okay.
Oof. That was meaty on both ends.
Yeah, right. So big hits, but
Yeah.
ultimately you pushed through and dealt the damage to me.
Cool.
And so with that, the turn would we would go to end of moment. Neither one of us has end of moment triggers.
Yep.
So we would just move our cards to discard.
Yep. Except my item. I bring that back with me.
Except your item. Yep.
And
now,
Yep.
oh, I was just say now you become reactive player, or
Cool.
sorry, active player.
Cool.
Yep.
I assume it's quite rare, but can we get through our decks? And if so, what happens?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can get through your deck, and if you do, what you do is anytime you try to draw a card and you cannot
Yep.
because you have none,
Yep.
you take your discard pile and your forgotten pile, you shuffle them together
Yep.
into a new deck. You gain 1 stack of fatigue,
Okay.
and then you would draw the card you needed.
And
And
fatigue.
so fatigue is a stack. So if you just make that big,
Yep.
what it does is, so this is a permanent debuff that you get that just says that all actions you perform have at the end of moment lose 1 health.
Yeah,
For
sure.
each point or for each stack of fatigue that you have.
Got it.
So if the game for whatever reason goes super long and you have 3 stacks of fatigue, that adds up very, very, very quickly, and the game will end.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Well, it's my go. So, oh my gosh, so many cards with so many things to do, and I get to
So,
yeah,
did you draw 2?
I did, yes.
Okay, so I did. All right, go ahead.
No problem. Well, let's see. And I have 10 to spend. Probably don't want to do that until I'm aware of what's happening. Probably when I'm reactive, I would bust that out. Let's see. I want to see how that plays out. That seems good. I'm going to start us range.
Okay.
And also I will be ruining one of your items.
So you're starting disengaged?
Disengaged, yes.
Okay.
So
this is my favorite card in the first set.
Oh yeah.
For multiple reasons. Yeah. So a little story about me in particular. So I play the drums.
Okay.
And one of my favorite bands is Mars Volta.
Oh wow,
and
cool.
So
I haven't listened to them in so long.
I love them. So I was trying to learn this song. It's called Aria Tarka.
Yeah.
And it's impossibly difficult. And I was getting really frustrated. And I actually hit my drum too hard and I broke it.
Oh no.
And so that's the inspiration for this card, is that it's called Aria's Tarka.
Yeah.
Which is a reference to the song, and it ruins an item because I ruined my drum.
That's kind of great.
So sometimes these designs aren't like inspired by like, something typical, like, oh, I saw this movie with a cool paladin and I wanted to be like no, I was frustrated and I punched something, and so that's what led to this one.
That's awesome. I have played out my turn.
Okay. Oh, interesting that you're blocking. That's cool. All right. All right. What do I want to do here? I want to try to avoid that. So I'm going to combat reflexes here, creating a token. And then I will just say I will slice them up. Well, no, I don't know that I want to do that. You know what? I'll just use my dagger here.
Yeah, sure.
Boop. Okay.
Okay.
And I'll pass to you.
Yep, great. I will also pass.
Okay. I'll pass as well.
Great. And we are beginning disengaged.
Correct.
Cool.
All right, so what we'll do here is, so in the first 2 moments here, I have a block and you have an attack.
Yep.
So what's interesting about Aria's Tarka is that it is a attack, but it has no power.
Oh no, I didn't realize that. You're right.
So what this represents is essentially I'm gonna use a League of Legends or a Heroes of the Storm term here.
Yeah.
It's a skill shot. Okay. So not all of the attacks in Varia are damage dealing. Sometimes you're launching a ranged missile at me that when it hits me, it's going to cause a devastatingly negative effect, but it's not going to damage me.
That's okay. That's okay.
So what you're doing is you're attacking me with an attack that has a base focus of 5.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to dodge it.
Okay.
I don't want to get hit by it because I don't want you to ruin my item or fatigue me, whatever you're going to choose. So we can go ahead and roll.
Yep.
So in this case, I technically don't have to roll power.
Sure.
So I could skip it if I want to.
Yep.
But I'm just going to roll it for the sake of rolling it. Okay, so you definitely hit.
Yep.
And so what you get to do is you get to pick, do you want to ruin an item or do you want to give me fatigue?
You know, I think I'm going to be annoying and give you fatigue.
All right. So I have 1 stack of fatigue.
Yep.
And now at the end of the moment, I will take 1, or I will lose 1 health because of it. Okay. So then we'll move on to moment 2 here.
Yep.
And I'm going to let you, why don't you dictate how this moment resolves, and then I'll tell you
Sure.
if it's incorrect.
Okay, so let's begin the moment, and at the beginning of the moment, I have an engage effect. Sorry, I have a beginning of moment effect, which is engage. You don't appear to have any actions that are start of moment, so let's engage, which brings both of these cards into engagement.
Correct.
Cool. And then we roll.
Yep.
Did I get that right?
Yes, you did.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay, so for focus, I got a 2. Not great. And you got a 6. So I believe that's a miss on my end.
That's right.
6 is definitely more than 2.
That's right.
No problem. And then we move on.
And then so at the end of the moment,
Yep.
I would lose 1 more.
Because of the fatigue.
Because exactly.
And that's...
So I'm slowly ticking towards death.
Okay, I can deal with this. If I just block for the rest of the game and ignore your vampire attacks, I think I'll be okay.
Exactly.
All right.
You're basically, what you're doing right now, and what's just making me so sad is that you're playing an assassin.
Yeah, even though I'm a brute.
And now you're just trying to, get out of dodge and wait for me to die. That is how my deck is built to function.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. So then we'll just do this one more time.
Yep.
I missed.
So it's a 5v4. Yeah, you missed, and I don't need to block. Easy.
Yep. So then I just take 1 more.
Yep. I can live with that. Okay, and these get discarded.
And so the one interesting thing here, since we generated a token, at the end of the turn, tokens, they just go away.
Oh, yeah.
They don't go to the discard or anything like that.
Yeah, sure. They just return to the token stack.
Yep.
Cool. I didn't summon any tokens.
So now I am the active player.
You are, and we both draw 2.
Yep.
Cool.
And so I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to say we start disengaged. I will Phantom's Kiss moment 1 and pass.
Phantom's Kiss, range, yep. So we're starting disengaged. If you
Correct.
are disengaged, you get 3/3 till the end of the moment. So that's, realistically, I'm looking at a 6/6.
Correct. Yeah, since I am active player, there's really no way for you to not have this be
that's
a 6/6,
right.
pretty much.
Because your start of moment actions resolve first.
Right. If you were a different class, you might have something that could alter it in some way, but as the warrior, you just have to deal with it. You basically have to just overpower me, which is what you did last time.
Yep. And now, as a reactive player, I cannot create more moments.
Correct.
And any card interactions that would require additional moments can't be interacted with.
So
I think you know what I have.
So you have one of 2 things. I'm guessing you have a Twin Strokes.
Yep. I do have the Twin Strokes, yes.
Oh. Then you might also have Deadly Swing.
That is also true.
Okay. So I'll let you pick whichever one you want to play, and I'll explain to you what would happen.
If I attempted to play Deadly Swing.
Okay. So what would happen is Deadly Swing, if you want to just put it on the table and make it big so that everyone can see it. Oh, I guess you could probably make it big from your hand, too,
Yeah.
right?
That's okay.
I keep forgetting that they're riding with you.
Yeah.
So the way that this card works is it basically you're using time as a way to get extra power.
Yeah.
So as you can clearly see, like, this is a huge attack.
Yeah.
It's a 10-5 that only costs 4. But the downside is that where most actions take 1 moment to perform, this one takes 2. So what you would do is in the first, let's say you're trying to play Deadly Swing.
Yep.
The first moment, it would be blank.
Yep.
Nothing is happening. This is the equivalent of you kind of winding up for the haymaker.
Yep.
Deadly Swing would go into what would be moment 2.
Yes.
Since there isn't going to be a moment 2 this turn, what would happen is Deadly Swing goes into what is called the queue.
Okay.
And so the way we kind of represent the queue is we just put them in between like this, like we just push it over slightly. All that means is that it won't happen this turn, but next turn, this action will immediately become the thing that you have planned.
Right. Interesting.
So it's kind of
okay.
It works, you know, if you think about like on Spotify, your queue, right? These are songs that you kind of are like, all right, I want to listen to these as soon as an opportunity comes up.
Gotcha.
Right. So what would happen is basically for this turn, you would do nothing, and I would just shoot you in the face.
Yep. Interesting.
Is that? Do you want to do that?
Let's play that out. I'm okay.
I mean, I would love to.
No, actually, because I think
John knows I don't pull my punches.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if you want to, you know, I'll gladly do it.
That is fair. I think, though, you'll know about that Deadly Swing, which makes it a bit more dangerous, right?
Correct. I will know it's coming.
And you'll absolutely be able to go ranged and just make it go away. In fact, I don't think that's a good move at all. Knowing that you are a ranger, I think I won't be playing that.
Okay.
Now, I've had a question. Are the action points paid in advance for a queued item?
So for that one, no.
So let's say that was in the queue.
Right. So since that's in the queue, right, your first moment here is blank. So when we go to resolve that moment for payment step, you have nothing. So you would just pay nothing.
Yep.
And then on the next turn, you would end up performing that, and you'd have to pay 4.
Yep. And presumably, I would want to opt for this to be engaged.
Yes. Right. If we were disengaged as we are right now, that 10 power doesn't do much for you.
Yeah. Cool. Right. All right. I don't
or
think
if you could get it ranged in some way.
Yeah. Got it. So I guess once that... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the other example of using the queue would be if you were to put a twin stroke down. So what would happen in this case is you would have a twin stroke in moment 1.
Yep.
Its ability says when you plan it, you generate a token in the next available moment. That would be moment 2. But since you're not able to add additional moments to this turn, what would happen instead is that twin stroke would get created in the queue.
It would go into the queue.
Exactly. And then so on the following turn, that twin stroke would become the first thing that you're doing.
Okay, cool. Interesting. So you can still put things into the next moment, but that moment doesn't exist until next turn. It sits in the queue until then.
Correct.
Cool.
So then the one final wrinkle is that while these particular cards, due to their unique rules, kind of create scenarios where you're putting cards into the queue. One thing that you cannot do is just take your whole hand and dump it into the queue.
Oh, sure. Yep. Because none of the other cards interact with creating moments or placement within moments.
Right.
Cool. Okay, that makes sense. Well, let's have a look. What is good here? I mean, you're going to do a lot of... You've got 3 focus, which is not fun. So maybe I can just dodge your attack completely. In which case, I think I will... Yeah, I'm just gonna throw a backflip down.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I will pass.
I will also pass.
Okay.
Cool.
Some will go to resolve.
Yep.
We'll pay, and then start of moment. Since we're disengaged, I'll get +3/+3.
Yep.
And then we will. And then also start of moment, you would disengage, but we're already disengaged, so you can't get further away from me.
Yep. Relying on some really bad luck on your end here.
And then we would just roll.
Yep. Okay, a
All right,
7
you did it. Okay,
versus
so
a.
I missed. Oh no,
No, you're
actually I
three
don't because I
three.
have
You
a
have this.
6.
You're 6-6.
Right.
I
So
forgot
I
about
do hit.
that.
So you have to roll your power as
Yeah,
well.
of course.
Um, I'm dealing 8 here.
You're dealing 4 total.
Okay, so then you would take 4,
Yeah. Ah,
and
that
I
was
would take
silly.
1 due to fatigue.
Yes. Keep doing actions, please. Just plan out massive sprawling turns. I'd love that.
Well, as active player on this next turn, since you have control of the cadence,
I
if
can
you
make.
go very wide, you can
Yeah.
force me to tire myself out.
Okay. So, let's see. I draw 2 cards to begin. And then I plan out a turn. There's no hand limits or anything. You just.
There's not.
Yeah. Cool.
And so some people would think like, oh wow, I'm just going to store up a bunch of cards in my hand.
Yeah.
And while yes, that can be advantageous to you for some part of the game,
Mm-hmm.
if the game goes long enough that your deck starts shuffling,
Hmm.
if you have a fistful of 20 cards, you're going to shuffle your deck again
Yep.
much quicker than someone who has been playing out their actions.
Sure.
So there is a little bit of a risk in just kind of holding on to everything.
Yep. Okay. In that case, I'm going to. Oh, but you'll know that I've done that. Okay, see, I can plan things, but I can't be too sneaky because you'll be aware of how to react to them. I think I will begin with that, a Spellbreaker, cost 4.
Okay.
I will then throw down a Shield Spear. And then I will throw down a Deadly Swing.
Got it. Okay. And we're starting engaged, I'm
We're
assuming.
starting engaged, yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm not going to play anything magic there. So I'll do a subtle strike here. A 3, 4, 6, 7. I'll do a transfusion Draga here and a brace yourself here.
And just for people watching, so Sean in the comments is mentioning that interactions with the queue are typically sort of about telegraphing in advance to your opponent, which it can be a form of psyching them out or basically tricking them into thinking that something big is coming, but then you just stack the first moment.
Yes, yeah, you can. It's very interesting. As you get more, as your skill level with the game grows, you start to realize that there are some very subtle ways that you can use the queue to your advantage.
Got it.
And kind of what Sean might be alluding to, and as an example, is I could, for example, play Flurry of Fists and go 5 wide.
Yep.
And then so you think, oh, okay, he's going wide. So you plan out a bunch of things to kind of match with me.
Yep.
And then I play a whole bunch of fast stuff as a big combo in moment 1.
Cool.
Knowing I'm not going to be able to pay for anything else and they're all just going to go to the queue.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to catch you unaware.
Got it.
So that's like a really good late game strategy because if you're sitting at like 5 or less health, then all that queued stuff just doesn't matter anymore, right? Because I'm trying to just get that last hit in.
Nice.
So yeah, there's a lot of the more you play, the more you start to see these like weird little edge cases that really make, for some great strategic plays.
I mean, it's those moments that make CCGs so exciting. It's the card interactions and then the tricky ways in which those can be combined that really just makes things cool.
Right. It's really any game that has a combat system, right?
Yeah.
As you get to learn that system, you start to learn the intricacies and you can start to pinpoint where you can use the system at its most like efficient level, and that's really when you become good
Cool.
or really at the game.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So let's play this out. Oh, sorry. I pass with fast actions.
Okay. 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. I also pass.
Cool. All right. 8, 10. Great. Okay. Oops. Sorry.
That's hard. Yep.
Okay. So start a turn. Engage. I just wanted to make sure that I could pull this off in case you did anything sneaky. If your target's action is magical, which it is not, no worries. Nothing happens.
Yep.
So
this is a good example of where our focus doesn't matter at all, and
Yep.
if we just wanted to roll power, we could.
great. And we do. So it's a 4v5. Nothing happens. In fact, you do one back.
Correct.
Cool.
And then I take one from fatigue.
damage. Yep.
Yep.
Cool.
Okay.
Shield Spear. Now, here I have a start of moment action. You may discard a block. If you do, this action gets +2, -2, and gains ranged until the end of the moment. So I'm actually going to use this, and I'm going to discard any block.
Any block.
I'm going to say goodbye, brace yourself.
Oh, no, from your hand.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you're discarding a block from
I'm
your hand.
discarding a block in order to perform
Right.
that. I'm sorry. I very much misread that.
That's okay. That would be amazing.
Right? I was just going to completely wipe out your defense.
Oh, that would have been toast.
Oh, that would have been horrible. Okay, so, all right, let me rethink how this card works. So, if I discard a block, this action gets a +2, -2. I don't think I'd have a shot at hitting you if I triggered that. So I'll actually
we're both attacking, so that having no focus wouldn't matter to you.
That's true. That is true, actually. So maybe maybe a +2 would be good.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I'll discard a block.
Cool.
So
right,
Yep. So I have 6.
I have 8.
Oof, 2 back to me.
And then I would gain 2.
Because of your vampire?
But then I would lose 1. So I'm just going to gain 1.
Yep.
Because of fatigue.
Yep, cool. Now, this moment, nothing happens, but you would suffer a fatigue. No, because there's no action.
Exactly.
Right. The wording of
Since
fatigue
it's
is actions.
It would. Right.
Cool. Sorry.
Now, if I was bleeding,
Yeah.
bleeding is not tied to actions.
Okay.
I would have taken the damage.
Got it. Interesting.
And so here, I'm not going to bother rolling focus because there's no possible way that you can miss since you have a base 5.
Yep.
So I'm just going to roll power here.
All right. So I have 12.
Okay. And I have 12.
13.
Oh, no, 13. Yeah, you're right.
Oh my gosh. Good defense.
So I take nothing there.
You take nothing. Okay. Nice.
But I do lose 1 again for fatigue.
Yeah.
It's been, I mean, so we've been very evenly matched so far. That's
we're
pretty,
doing pretty good.
you know, sometimes the rolls can be
Brutal.
disastrous
Yeah.
for one player. It's
Yeah.
just like game over.
Of
you
course.
know?
So
all right, what do I
pass
wanna
back
do?
to you to being the active player.
Correct. So in moment 1, I'm going to start disengaged. And then I'm just going to shoot an area Tarka back at you and say pass.
Okay. Ranged on hit. Oh no, you're gonna do it right back. Okay. You run an item your target controls, or you apply 1 fatigue. Oh, I think you. I don't. And that's on hit. So can I defend that? Let's see. That's interesting. Okay, then maybe I will. Might do that. Throw down cranial crash.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. I was going to say we are disengaged.
We are disengaged. No.
but I don't know if maybe you have like a fast engage in your hand. So that's one thing that the warrior can do
Yeah.
because you have like explosive charges and stuff. You
Yeah.
can play attacks while you're disengaged, and that's normally that's like weird.
Yeah.
But since you're able to kind of like close
Rush in
that
with you.
gap, then
Yeah.
it does make me nervous.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool. Okay, I pass.
so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this with a slice them up and say pass.
Okay. You are the active player, so yours would trigger
Correct.
first. Okay. You may pay 2 action points. So now this will cost you 2. You could theoretically do it up to 4 times, which is
Yeah. So the way slice them up works is it starts off as a 0-0 for 2. At the start of moment, I can pay 2 action points to get an additional power die.
Yeah.
As many times as I want.
Yeah. Cool. Interesting. Or as many times as you
So
can afford.
Well, as I can afford, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to try to stack up as high as possible.
Interesting. And so with your Area's Taka, is that forgotten? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay. So cranial crash. So what you're theoretically able to do is additional power die. Oh my gosh. So you could theoretically do that up to 4 die, which is 6, 12, 18, 24 is your theoretical highest.
I could have 5.
Sorry.
Because the card comes with 1.
Yep.
And I could give it an additional.
Oh, it does
4.
come with 1. That's right. Well, then maybe.
So 30. I could do 30 if I happen to roll all 6s. Which
Yeah.
won't happen.
Wow. That's.
I've never done that.
That's insane. Let's see. Okay. But we are currently. Oh no, yours would engage. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
And you are the active player. Oh dear. This is possibly quite brutal. You know what I think I will do is no, I can't because it's not a fast. Oh, thank you for joining Twitch Tubus. We'll see you around. Okay. No, you know what? I think I've just got to leave Cranial Crash there. I think that's all I can really... Yeah, I'm going to leave Cranial Crash right there.
I'm going to do the same. I'm not going to play anything fast.
Yeah. Cool.
So we would go to resolve.
Yep.
So I would initially pay 2.
Yep.
And then at the start of the moment, I'm going to pay an additional 8.
Yep.
So that I have 5 total power die.
Oh no.
And 1 focus die.
Yep. My hope is that focus is in my favor.
Well, we're both attacking.
We are both attacking. Oh, that's right. Focus is irrelevant.
So your card has a variable power.
Yes.
It's equal to 3 plus the highest aggression attribute in your discard
which
pile.
I think is a 3. Oh no, there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yes. So you're sitting at a 9 right now.
Okay, great. I'll take it. Cool.
All right. Let's see.
Gosh.
I'm really rolling the dice here.
Go in.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So that's 25.
Yep. I got 11.
Okay. You can take
14. Ooh.
Yeah.
23. Math. That is 9. Oh my gosh.
So this is an example of how the assassin has that very explosive, like I just pop out,
Step.
boom, just try to get you dead.
Yep.
And then at the end of the moment, I'll take 1.
Yep, no problem.
Because I'm fatigued.
Yes. Oh boy.
Okay.
Well, that's feeling dire. Okay. All right, let's see what we can do here. Okay. What does that do? Mm-hmm. Sure. Hmm. Okay. It's very interesting. I need to somehow come back from that. And I wonder if the way to do that is with that. Yeah, okay.
That card also, by the way,
Yeah.
I could have also just dealt 5.
Oh, sure. But
Like I could have
why
just
would you do
rolled
that?
atrociously, you
Yeah.
know. I happen to roll very, very, very well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, cool. Well, in that case, I'm going to begin us. Mm-hmm. I'm going to begin us disengaged, and I'm going to start with an explosive charge.
Okay.
And then I'm also going to pop down. Pop down a critical strike. Hold on, 6, 7, 8. Oh no. Gonna pop down some twin strikes, which lets me get the token out. And then I'm going to do an aimed edge. Yeah. Just see how that plays. Oh no, this twin strokes still possesses a action point value. It does.
Yes.
So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'll actually stop it there then.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so you're gonna have 0 plus 2d6 here. Okay. I will subtle strike here. I'll say pass.
Yep. Passing, okay. Interesting. That's all you're doing. Okay. Well then now I get to play fast action. So
Right.
I'll just pass and see what happens.
Okay. So then I'll use my dagger here as a combo and say pass.
So let's see. What have you got? Ooh, maybe you're just trying to finish me off before I can even do anything. Because you've got actions with power greater than this action cannot be planned to clash with it. What are you scheming? What are you having? What are you plotting? I don't. Yeah, okay. I can't see what you've got in store here. I mean, obviously, your focus is going to be crazy, so I'll probably miss.
So we're both attacking.
We are both attacking. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think you're just trying to finish me off before I can do anything. But I can't afford to. Now, theoretically, if I were to play a fast card and combine that with explosive charge, but that put my action point limit over 10, what would happen then?
Yes. So what would happen is when you get, let's say that at this point you had spent 10.
Yeah.
When we got to this moment,
Mm.
you would be unable to pay for your action,
Mm.
and so it would enter the queue.
Okay, cool. Yep. That makes sense. All right. Yeah. Now that's interesting. That's fine. Yeah, okay, I'm going to play this down. Oh, God. Come back. There it is. And combine them.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'm going to... Oh, no.
Yep.
I may have misplayed. I had a grand scheme,
no.
but I read one of my cards wrong.
Do you want to amend that? That's okay.
No. Oh, absolutely not. No. Are you
okay.
Come on. I should know better. So I'll explain to you what I was trying to get you to do.
Okay.
And then I'll just do something different because I actually can't.
Sure.
So I thought that I had this card in my hand also.
Okay.
Aimed Edge.
Yep.
Which is a fast ranged attack.
Yep.
So what I was trying to do was fake you out and go really tall here.
Yeah.
To get you to do exactly what you just did.
Yep.
Because when you do that, what happens is this will end up entering the queue.
Yes.
But this moment will still be here.
Yep.
And so what I was going to then do was replace this big thing, because when you replace a combo, you replace the entire thing.
Right.
So I was going to replace this with a
disengagement. Yep.
So this would have gone here.
Yep.
My item would have come back.
Yep.
And then I thought that this was an aimed edge. So I was going to put it here, combined with my dagger.
Oh.
And he would have been open. And I would have, because I have 20 health, I can soak these two.
And then you would have had free range.
I would have killed. I would have killed you.
Yep.
So that is what I wanted to do. It would have looked amazing on stream.
Would have been so cool.
Unfortunately, I confused this card for this card.
Oh no.
So I in fact cannot do that.
Okay.
Which is terrible.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to take my punches and I'm going to go one more tall here and just hope I outroll you.
Ooh.
And we'll just see what happens.
Okay, let's do it. Oh, it would have been so cool.
that was my thought process.
Yeah.
In what I was trying to.
I see. Okay. Well,
and I would have gotten away with it too
if it wasn't for my meddling cards.
My inability to read.
Oh yeah, that one too. All right.
So I'll do this and just say pass.
Cool. I also pass.
But anyway, that's an example of how when you really start to understand kind of like the flow of combat, you can piece together strategies and kind of bait your opponent into doing what you want them to do so that you can create the opening that you need.
Absolutely.
Right? When you first start playing Varia, it's a lot of 3-3 versus 3-3. We roll. Oh, I rolled better. Deal 1 to you, right?
Yeah, sure.
And you kind of get a feel for how combat works, how things start playing, and then you start seeing like, oh, I can move here, trick you to do this, create an opening here, get you here. Like it really starts to open up, and you start to feel like that boxer, that MMA fighter, where you're sparring with somebody and you're trying to create the opening that will give you an opportunity to get in a hit.
Nice. Cool. All right. Well, so let's play this out. So my beginning of moment action, I bring us out of disengagement to engagement. And because it caused us to move towards my target and become engaged, this action gains extra power die until the end of the moment.
Yes. So you will get 3.
3.
That's right.
And I'm rolling 2 focus die.
Oh, actually rolled pretty well.
So, oh no, they're both attacks. We don't care about focus die. That's right.
Correct.
So, oh, you rolled pretty well. Okay. I did
Wow.
11, 12, 13, 14.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so you have 14. I have a base of 3
Yeah.
plus 11. So that's 14 plus 2, so I deal 2 to you.
Yep. Cool.
Excellent. All right, and then I would take 1 due to fatigue.
Due to fatigue, yeah.
And now you're going to wail on me 3 times here.
That's the
This is going
plan.
to hurt.
Okay, what are we looking at? So now we're all engaged.
Yep. And I have nothing. So you're automatically hitting me. You would still want to roll your focus for the critical strike,
Which I do not
you
get.
could crit. Right.
All right, so I do 3 plus 3. I do 6.
Yep.
And then we move on. I don't care about focus, so I do 2 plus 5, 7. Ooh.
Okay, so you could kill me here.
Potentially, yeah.
If you roll 4 or more.
Here we go. 2 plus 6.
Oh, you got me. All right. So that's it.
That's it.
So that's Varia.
Wow. That's so much fun. Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm not just saying that because I won, by the way.
No, I mean, that was great. I mean, I love this game. So
Oh, yeah.
I always have fun.
That's awesome. I mean, it's good when the designer likes their own game, you know?
Yeah, right. That's a good signal, right? Like,
Yeah.
man, this game sucks. Like, we should sell it.
Pretty much, yeah.
We should box it up.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that was awesome. And yeah, I mean, I still had 14 cards in my deck, so there was a lot to come out that I could have played with.
Right. So one of the cards that I don't know if you got a chance to see, but your kind of like coup de grace in that deck is a card called Decapitate.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
you'll know it by the art.
Sure. Decapitate. Where are we? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So this is basically an Omega critical strike.
Mm-hmm.
In that if you roll a 4 for
Yeah.
your focus, you kill me.
Yeah.
You just deal infinite damage.
Wow. Yep.
And
Oh
so
my
at first
gosh.
glance, someone might think, oh, that's overpowered. How can
Yeah.
you possibly print that card? Blah, blah, blah. Well, if you look, there's 2 main ways that I can get out of dodge
Yep.
if you're trying to decapitate me. One is I simply just create some distance,
Yep.
right? Because it's not ranged.
Yep.
And 2 would be I have a very high focus dodge,
Yep.
in which case, or excuse me, high focus block, in which case I would dodge and not get hit.
Cool. Nice. Okay, yeah, that's do you have any cards like that you really like in your deck?
Yes. So how did you do that, by the way? How did you draw them all in a stack?
I just
like that?
right click and take.
Take. Oh. Take 14.
Yep.
Is that what I do?
That's what I did. Give him a flip. Cool.
Okay. So mine is right here. It's called Serrated Venom.
Ooh.
And
Hemotoxin.
basically, it's a pretty unassuming 4/4 attack for 4.
Okay.
But what it does is it applies Hemotoxin.
Yep.
And what Hemotoxin is it's a stack here that's permanent. It makes it so that every time you are dealt damage by a physical action, you'll gain 1 bleeding.
Oh my god.
You cannot lose bleeding.
Yep.
And so then you'll rack these up. And bleeding is like fatigue on steroids.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, so this character, again, a little background story anecdote. This character's name is Boomslang. Is named after the Boomslang snake.
Okay.
Which that snake is famous for. Its venom is a hemotoxin, which is it gets in your system and it makes your blood stop clotting.
Yep.
And so the snake will bite its victim, and then it will just sit around in the shadows and let the victim bleed out before it'll go eat it.
Yeah.
And so this assassin deck really has 2 modes of victory. One is if I can get either a hemotoxin or a fatigue on you early using like an area Tarka,
Mm,
then my game plan becomes dodge, 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 sit in the shadows, and just kind of watch you bleed out.
got it.
My second option is if you mess up and
Yep.
you put yourself in a rough spot, then I play something like Slice 'em Up and I just pop out of the shadows and try to end you right there.
Oh yeah, sure.
So those are kind of like my two modes of victory
Oh, I
in
love
this
that.
particular.
I'm not sure if you played Slay the Spire, but it really reminds me
Yes.
of the stabby character.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
love Slay the
Oh
Spire.
my god.
It's a
Have okay.
fantastic game.
Have you played Hades?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's so good.
Hades is amazing.
It's really good. It's all
Yeah.
I'm. I mean, I was part of the early access, but all I'm doing right now is just like playing runs with the complete game. It's so good. Anyway, we're not here to talk about Hades and Slay the Spire. Although board game Twitter is pretty obsessed with Slay the Spire, I'll admit.
Yeah, it's so good.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. I think we should get people to try the game for themselves.
Yeah, let's,
So it's currently on Tabletopia. If you want to head to our Tabletopia Discord channel, I'll post the link in the comments if you are not already part of it, and go to the hashtag Learn and Play channel. What are they called? Server. And that's where we'll be assembling, and I'll get people to match up in groups of two, and we'll start some games. And you'll be hanging out in the comments if people have any rules clarifications or questions.
yeah, definitely.
And you've also got the rule book in the bottom left here as a PDF, and I assume you've clarified all the keywords in there.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, we have. Yep.
Awesome.
And further on our website,
Yep.
we have pages that are dedicated to each class deck that further explain any rules that only show up in that particular deck.
Great. Awesome. Well, yeah, this has been Varia, and Anthony, this has been so much fun. Thank you for showing me and teaching us all this really cool game. And it's currently on Kickstarter.
Yeah, that was the one other thing that I just wanted to say. So
yes, please.
if you really like this game, and you want to check it out, our Kickstarter is live right now.
Yep.
We are very, very close
Ooh, yeah.
to crossing the finish line and hitting that 100%. So, anything that we can get to kind of get us there would be wonderful. And then from that point forward, it's just a matter of hitting stretch goals of some really interesting additional classes, things like a Scion for any of you who have ever played D&D. It's like a psychic character. A samurai is another one.
Yeah.
We have one that's a witch that's really fun. So if you want to check that out and and otherwise, have fun.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for joining us. And if you're live right now, we'll see you in the Discord for a couple of sparring matches. Thank you for joining everyone, and have a good day.
Yeah, thanks.
See ya.